The observation deck of the Meridian Dawn hummed with the barely audible frequency of the ship's quantum drive, a sound James had grown accustomed to over the past 3 years. He stood alone, his reflection ghosting across the reinforced polymer viewport as the Andromeda relay station rotated slowly in the distance, its spiral arms glittering with navigation beacons. The neural interface is detecting elevated dopamine levels again. Dr. Chun, the ship's AI, Arya, spoke through his cochlear implant. Should I prescribe a serotonin regulator? James touched his temple, deactivating the invasive monitoring. No, Arya, some feelings are worth having, even if they're complicated. 3 years. 3 years since first contact. 3 years since humanity discovered they weren't alone, that the universe was teeming with civilizations connected by the lattice and ancient network of faster-than-light communication nodes built by the precursors millions of years ago. And 3 years since he'd met her, Princess Aliana of the Zephian Concordat. She wasn't like the propaganda feeds back on Earth suggested. The Zephians weren't the ethereal, beautiful humanoids that human artists love to imagine. Aliana's form was bioluminescent, her skin a shifting canvas of chromatophores that pulsed with colors beyond human perception. The translation implant in James's brain interpreted her chemical signals and electromagnetic field modulations as language, but it was her consciousness, vast, ancient, impossibly complex, that had captivated him. The Zephians lived for millennia. Aliana was 847 Earth years old, and she served as her people's xenanthropologist. She had spent the last 2 years studying humanity, and James, as the chief linguist of the Earth diplomatic corps, had been her primary contact. She's requesting your presence in the cultivation bay, Arya interrupted his thoughts. James felt his pulse quicken. He made his way through the ship's corridors, passing crew members who nodded respectfully. Everyone knew about his partnership with the princess. Some whispered about it. Others envied it. None understood it. The cultivation bay was Aliana's sanctuary aboard the Meridian Dawn. The environmental controls had been modified to accommodate Zephian biology. The atmosphere was thicker, infused with argon and exotic hydrocarbons, and the lighting oscillated in the ultraviolet spectrum. She was there, suspended in the nutrient bath, her form rippling with patterns that the translator rendered as contentment. Around her, samples of Earth flora grew in modified conditions, part of her ongoing research into humanity's agricultural evolution. James Chun, her voice resonated through his implant, though her actual communication was a complex symphony of chemical releases and electromagnetic pulses. You are troubled. Your biometric signature is consistent with what humans call melancholy. He approached the tank's edge, watching the graceful way she moved through the viscous fluid. I've been thinking about the treaty, he said. It wasn't entirely a lie. The Concordat's cultural exchange program was ending in 3 months. Aliana would return to Zephios Prime, and James would go back to Earth. They both knew it. The treaty is politically necessary, Aliana pulsed, her chromatophores shifting to deep blues and violets colors his implant interpreted as sadness. Our peoples require boundaries. Integration cannot be rushed. Evolution, whether biological or cultural, requires time. I know. James placed his hand against the tank, and Aliana drifted closer, her form pressing against the transparent barrier. The proximity sensors in his implant detected the electromagnetic field she was generating, a focused, intimate wavelength meant only for him. There's something you're not expressing, she said. Your limbic system is in distress. The patterns suggest longing? James laughed bitterly. Your sensors are too accurate. He looked away, watching the Earth plants struggling to adapt to the alien environment. It's nothing. Just a human being foolish. I have studied humanity extensively, Aliana responded, her patterns now shifting to curious golds and greens. I understand foolishness. I have grown to appreciate it. Your species' short lifespans create an urgency, an intensity of experience that my people lost millennia ago. You feel deeply because you must. Your time is limited. Yes, James whispered, his forehead now pressed against the cool polymer. Limited. That's the problem, isn't it? You'll live another 1,000 years? I'll be dust in 80, if I'm lucky. Silence. The kind of silence that happens when two beings from different worlds confront the vast gulf between them. I wish ... James began, his voice barely audible, speaking more to himself than to her. I wish I could marry her. The words escaped before he could stop them. A confession to the universe rather than a declaration. The cultivation bay's atmosphere suddenly changed. Aliana's bioluminescence flared brilliantly. Cycling through colors James had never seen her produce, rapid, intense, almost chaotic. His implant struggled to translate the signals, presenting fragments: shock, ... impossibility, ... joy, ... hope, ... hope, ... hope. James Chun, her voice resonated with an intensity that made his neural implant ache. You must understand what you've proposed. Zephian bonding protocols are neurochemically binding. They involve complete electromagnetic field synchronization. The pheromonal exchange alone would require you to undergo genetic modification. And yet, she paused, and James felt his heart hammering against his ribs. My answer is yes. The world seemed to stop. The quantum drive's hum faded. His consciousness narrowed to a single point of impossible reality. What? He breathed. Aliana's form pressed more intensely against the barrier. I have lived 847 years, James Chun. I have studied 200 species across 40 worlds. I have experienced wonders your language lacks words to describe. And in these 2 years, I have discovered something unprecedented in Zephian history. I have fallen in love with an ephemeral being. With you? But I'll die, James said, his voice breaking. In a century I'll be gone and you'll barely have aged. Yes, Aliana pulsed, her colors now settling into a deep, resonant purple that his implant translated as profound determination. You will give me 80 years of intensity that my people have forgotten how to feel, and I will carry the memory of you for the next millennium. Among my people, such a sacrifice is considered the highest form of love, to bind oneself to inevitable loss in exchange for genuine connection. James felt tears on his cheeks. The treaty our governments won't allow it. There are protocols, diplomatic restrictions. Then we will rewrite the protocols, Aliana said. This is first contact, James. We are not just representatives of our species. We are the first bridge. Let us show our peoples what is possible when beings choose connection over caution. Through the viewport beyond the cultivation bay, the Andromeda relay station continued its eternal rotation, its lights marking the pathways between stars, between worlds, between impossibilities made real. James smiled, placing both hands against the tank. When we explain this to the diplomatic corps, they're going to think we've lost our minds. Aliana's colors burst into brilliant, joyful yellows. Perhaps we have. But as you humans say, madness and genius are often indistinguishable. Arya's voice chimed softly through his implant. Dr. Chun, multiple treaty violation alerts are being triggered by this conversation. Should I report to command? James looked at Aliana, at the impossible being who had somehow learned to love a creature that would die before she'd lived even 1% more of her life. No, Arya, he said quietly. Some protocols are meant to be broken. And in the cultivation bay of the Meridian Dawn, halfway between Earth and the Andromeda Relay, two beings from worlds impossibly far apart began to plan a future that neither of their peoples could have imagined. Future built not on treaties or protocols, but on the simplest and most revolutionary force in the universe, love.